Aye, that's it. We're nearly there for last week's supers. Then we can get into the news.
Nice one.
We've got Shafe, who said, quit WoW roughly a month ago. So done with the game. FF seems quite good. Seeing you talk about it all the time, maybe I'll look into it. That's been the experience of many people, including Asmongold. I think we will cover that soon.
Yes.
Because I think that streaming A Realm Reborn is an exercise in self-flagellation. I think that it will make for a probably not very entertaining stream. And I think it'll be a shit show. Could be different if it was Shadowbringers. But A Realm Reborn, just to me, that is not streaming content.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like streaming FF to people streaming FF to a non-FF community is a terrible idea in general, because you're hurting the game for all those people who'll play it eventually by watching you. So it's a thing where you should never ever do any MSQ at all on stream, and only do actual like end game activities. Because the idea of someone wanting to play FF, tuning into a stream, and then having some of the major plot points of like Heavensward spoiled, or some of the major events, that would actually really hurt the experience overall. So it's weird. It's that kind of thing where really narrative-driven single-player games shouldn't be streamed, and FF for the MSQ falls under that to me.
Yeah, I agree entirely, and I think some of that is just such a problem with working in games in various different capacities. If that is the thing of a streamer, I mean, imagine being a full-time streamer but loving narrative games. God damn, that would suck. Because your actual gaming tank will be out of fuel by the time you finished your stream with your stream-friendly game. But how are you even going to be able to properly experience a narrative game with a story? Because you'll be so burnt out from the rest of it. There was final two catch-up questions, both from David Granger, who says, hey guys, Diablo 4 manages to create an amazing MMO world experience. Would you like to see Warcraft 4 MMO introduce us to the 5 years before World of Warcraft started or existed alongside WoW? So I'd say there is Diablo 4. Will it try to double down a little bit more on some of that group play and stuff like that so that it can be a shared world game with your friends? Yes. And I think that will soon become a modern definition of an MMO, where people will actually see games like Valheim as being MMO-ish, and that'll be like the bar. Yeah,
you're like, well, how does that make sense? But
it doesn't make sense. But the way that you play it is with those people in your Discord server, in a group, and you're going through some sort of large world. Which is kind of what MMOs did years ago, and we didn't have as many of those games.
Yeah, that's it. We have moved the goalposts on MMO so hard. Terraria is now an MMO.
It's weird. Like. It's like I sort of I don't fully agree with the phrasing of the question, but I get what he's going for. Now, as for a Warcraft 4, Warcraft 4 will not happen, in my view, as a real-time strategy game.
Yeah.
If it does happen, then I imagine it would be some sort of like character action game, or another format of role-playing game.
Yeah.
But I don't see it happening, because I think World of Warcraft is what's going to carry that one forward. I mean, my personal sort of wet dream is you do a WoW expansion, then Warcraft 4 RTS happens. That kind of sets up the next expansion, but I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted there because I believe we had a small F, but there's nothing on OBS's end here, so no drop frames, no.
The Fs don't seem to be continuing.
Yeah, I remember they're behind us now, but.
Then David Granger also said, love me some WoW and Final Fantasy. I think Blizzard should look at why Wildstar failed and compare retail WoW to that formula and adapt.
Yes.
What's interesting? I don't really know exactly what the crossover is. In my head with Wildstar, or at least why I never got into Wildstar is it felt that they really hammed up Saturday morning cartoon. So to me, I was just like, well, cool, I don't really take this world that seriously, actually.
Yeah, same.
I could never take the world of it seriously, which meant I could never take the fantasy of it that seriously. It just didn't do a good enough job of making me care about where I was. So I think WoW's version of that is, don't make the lore and the setting so alien to player expectations that they no longer feel at home in that world. Because basically Wildstar didn't feel like it could ever be a home to me.
Yeah.
Because Saturday morning cartoon, I don't really like. Sci-fi stuff, I do like, but it just didn't come together. So for me, it was nothing to do with the 40-man rating and Wildstar trying to be all. It was nothing of any of that. It's purely just fantasy and setting didn't mesh for me.
Yeah. Whereas I guess funny you say feel like they could be a home, and I very much have always felt that World of Warcraft. I feel it less with Shadowlands. I felt it perfectly fine every other time we went anywhere. No, we should be okay.
Oh no,
We should be okay. Yeah, I mean,
saved. We good?
I think you might.
I think it was just a lag spike.
Yeah, there's a lag spike. Everything's fine.
Sweet.
Everything's fine now. But what's I saying? Yeah, home. I think World of Warcraft could like felt like a home until Shadowlands because it's. I guess like the narrative framing of it being a different plane, being the death plane, is really cool, but doesn't feel like it's a real place to me.
Yeah.
And like FF's the same, where FF, everywhere I go, I feel like this is a part of this world. I feel at home in all of these cities, and then when I find a new place, I'm like, oh, it's it's like going to a town that you've never been before down the road.
Yeah.
It's still part of your like the world you inhabit, but it's just a new part with new cool stuff. Where Shadowlands feels a little bit like a fever dream in a sense.
Yeah, I think going with non-contiguous zones was a bit of a mistake. And Shadowlands, it's like we're going to the afterlife. To a lot of people, that just feels like we've jumped the shark.
Yeah.
So they're just not going to feel as at home in that world. It's like, I don't know, like we talked about Lord of the Rings earlier. It's like, I don't know exactly the afterlife in Lord of the Rings. I know that there is one that's different between the elves and the men and stuff, but whatever. But it's like, if you told me, oh, we're going to go to the afterlife of Middle Earth, my reaction would be, please no. Please no.
Yeah.
I really don't want that. Because if I go and meet Eru Iluvatar, who's kind of like, the sort of creator.
Yeah.
It's like if I somehow end up in the void having a little chat with Melkor, I'll be like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? This feels weird. Where am I? Suddenly King Elisar does not feel like an important character because I just had a chat with God, and through that void gate is the ultimate enemy of the universe. Shark shouldn't be jumped.
Yeah, but bit different feeling than here's a couple of kobolds, beat them up.
Yeah. I think that's, and like I have heard from a lot of people with Shadowlands that it's just that bit. And it's the thing we've long thought about Shadowlands, which is it's way more cool to Blizzard than it is to us. And that's because Blizzard are exploring their own lore. They're having fun doing that. But I think they're not entirely thinking about the player experience. And I think that's because they're so used to being World of Warcraft, being on top, and basically always getting a win.
Yeah.
And that's that. I mean, in their head, they got away with a time travel expansion. So surely they can get away with anything.
Yeah.
Pandas, then time travel. Sure, we can go to the afterlife. But to players,
That's fair.
it's like the pandas, they still got Warcraft in there. The time travel. The whole point of Warlords of Draenor. Remember all the memes of it being savage?
Yeah.
It was just it doubled down in Warcraft as a metal album cover. That's why people, meshed with the fantasy, even though it was, hopping in the DeLorean and, I mean, not literally mechanically, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, they put a Gorehal in the middle of a taxi, like.
Oh, yeah.
That was metal, like.
Yeah.
That feels like something Chris Metzen had dreamt about as a kid.
That and Azeroth choppers.
Finally got to do it. It's like, fucking, yeah, let's go. But
oh man. So
caught up with supers.
We've caught up in supers.
I suppose we should probably address.
We do have a lot of supers from a very, very generous audience.